You're listening to The Edie J. Adler Show, only on LA Talk Radio.
Shalom, amigos. Thank you for tuning in. I am Edie J. Adler. Welcome to the Edie J. Adler Show. If you would like to call in during the show, that number is area code 323-203-0815. This show is open to all topics, except if people start calling each other names or sending nasty messages. I don't accept that. So I will block you. I'm also a strong supporter of Israel, and we are very grateful for this beautiful nation, the United States of America. Today's show is dedicated to someone very special, my big brother, Rene Ocampo, because today is his birthday. So let me say that in Spanish for him. Este show está dedicado con mucho cariño para mi hermanito Rene Ocampo, a quien adoro. That said, today's guest is also very special. My guest today is Ronit Maghen. And let me tell you a little bit about Ronit. I like reading the introduction so I don't miss anything. Ronit Maghen is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, certified in integrative and functional nutrition therapies. She has been practicing medical nutrition therapy for the last 28 years, which means she started when she was 1 year old. She has helped many patients achieve their ultimate health goals and improve their quality of life through one-on-one counseling and group classes. Her areas of expertise are cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, obesity, renal disease, cancer, can't say that very, you try saying it in Spanish, gastrointestinal disorders, inflammatory diseases, nutritional imbalances, hormonal imbalances, anti-aging nutrition, geriatric nutrition, women's health nutrition, vegetarian, gluten-free, and ketogenic diet. Please welcome Ronit Maghen to the show. Ronit, thank you so much for coming, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And happy birthday to your brother.
Thank you. And the way that we met is that almost 3 years ago, I had, as you know, C. diff. If you don't know what it is, you don't want to know what it is. Look it up. It's a very dangerous bacteria that attacks your colon and your gut. And almost 3 years after I got it, I have no idea how I got it. I'm still dealing with it. But it wasn't until I was referred to you by my doctor that I started to get better. So, of course, my GI doctor and my regular doctor, I have to thank them for fighting this thing with me and for me, but I was on antibiotics for more than 3 months. And I'm still dealing with it. And I didn't know what else to do. I was desperate. So I asked for a referral. They referred me to you. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, that it was you, because you're very knowledgeable, you're very patient, and you're very empathic.
Thank you.
And you spend the time with your patients. You don't rush them out. You don't rush me. You let me talk as much as I need to talk. You ask me how things are working for me. And since I started taking the supplements that you recommended, I started to feel better. I'm still dealing with it. But now I'm able to once in a while have a little bit of wine with Shabbat dinner, for instance. I'm able to eat some fruit. I started to eat salads again in moderation. And I, besides God, I thank you for that, because you know how to deal with these issues, and you've been a godsend. So,
Oh, I appreciate the comments. It's a pleasure knowing you, and I'm really happy to have helped even a little bit. And hopefully, you will see major improvements as time goes by.
I wrote down some questions because I didn't want to forget anything, because I know this is a very important topic
Yes.
for a lot of people. So why don't we start with this one? What is the role of the digestive system in our overall health?
Yes. So, as you know, gut health has become really a big, important topic in the past few years. Um, I think before that, most of us thought, or okay, our gut is just to digest food and excrete food, and most of us don't really think of it as a really important organ. But nowadays, they've done a lot of research, and it turns out that your gut is one of the most important, vital organs in your body. And I will tell you, I have listed a few of them. There's millions of functions that your gut plays in your overall health. It's not just physical health, it's mental health as well. And obviously, more and more research is being done in this area. But we'll go over it today. So, as you know, our gut is made out of our mouth, our esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine or colon. We also have our liver and pancreas and gallbladder that are also a crucial part of the whole digestive tract or digestive system. Uh, so, um, so what they've found is actually our gut has a microbiome, a whole culture of variety of bacteria, fungus, viruses. It has its own community that really controls our health. And it really affects our nervous system. It affects our brain. It affects our hormones. It has many other functions. So our gut has a layer of cells or mucus lining um, that pretty much covers it and it separates it from the rest of our body. And this layer of cells are so important, or mucus is so important. It helps with 90% of absorption, with the absorption of 90% of nutrients from the food we eat. It contains 80% of our immune system cells.
Wow,
Yes,
80%?
of 80% of our immune system response is actually inside our gut.
Wow, I did not
Um,
know that.
yes. Also, the gut microbiome, like I said, contains trillions of microscopic organisms, including many species of bacteria, like beneficial and bad bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. And I'm sure you've heard of probiotics, which are the beneficial bacteria. And these microorganisms help in this with the synthesis of vitamins like B1, B9, B12, and K. They also help in production of many neurotransmitters and hormones.
Interesting. So I
Yes.
want to ask you about something. I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I give pointers during the show. And I wanted to ask you that because I find that when I have anxiety, my stomach is making the Macarena, dancing the Macarena, as I
Mm-hmm.
say. And then when my stomach doesn't feel well, or when I have pain because I ate something that I shouldn't have eaten, then I start getting anxious.
Mm-hmm.
My mind goes all over the place. Do I have something incurable? They haven't found what I have. What? And it's just like a vicious cycle. So, what role does anxiety play in your digestive system, your gut, and vice versa?
Right. So this is another thing we don't correlate, right, on daily basis. Like, what does my stomach has to do with my mental health and my mind? So, like I said, our gut, we also call it the second brain. It contains many nerves that are connected to our brain. So, you're constantly sending signals back and forth between the brain and all the nerves that are inside the stomach or your whole gut, I should say. Um, and like I said, our digestive tract or the microbiome are also responsible and play a really important role in synthesis of neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are pretty much your signaling, the messaging centers between the nerves. So some examples of the neurotransmitters that they are responsible for are, for example, GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that helps with regulating anxiety and fear.
Really?
Yes. So you see how it's all correlated, right? So if your gut is not balanced, something is not right, the nerves are not being signaled back and forth the way they should be, and obviously that creates anxiety, fear. It's also they also play a very important role in production of serotonin, and I'm sure you've heard of serotonin. Serotonin helps regulate mood and sleep and digestion. So um, it would also affect your sleep also
I
if
don't
that
sleep well. Yeah.
right if that
Yeah.
neurotransmitter is not functioning well, or it's not synthesis, it's prohibited or inhibited, that doesn't work well. It also affects another neurotransmitter, dopamine. You've heard of dopamine, I'm sure.
Yes.
That's our feel-good hormone, our happy hormone, pleasure hormone. It also helps with increasing desire, motivation, all that. So again, if you have digestive issues, it will affect your dopamine, your motivation, your pleasure, your sensing good overall, happy feeling overall. Another one is glutamate. That's also another neurotransmitter that plays a really important role in mood and sleep and memory. Another one is histamine. I'm sure you've heard of histamine.
Right.
Histamines are responsible for creating mucus and fighting infections. So again, if there's a defect there, you're not fighting infection, your immune system goes down, and vice versa. Some people have the opposite, where they have overactive mast cells and they produce too much histamine, and they always have, allergic reactions, stomach pain, migraine headaches. Is all related to our gut. Skin issues also are related to our gut, surprisingly. The other one is norepinephrine, which is our flight and fight neurotransmitter. We also have the acetylcholine, which helps to stimulate muscle contractions and movements of our, digestive tract. It also affects our heart rate. So pretty much a lot of our body responses are controlled by neurotransmitters, and the other ones are like hormones, which you've heard of, which also this community, the microbiome, has a big role in an effect on hormones, different hormones of the body as well.
Wow. What is leaky gut?
Okay, so leaky gut is so we were talking about that layer of cells that cover our whole intestine lining, right? So what happens is sometimes these cells, because of getting damaged because of environmental toxins, the food we eat, stress, whatever, these cells get damaged and they open up, the junctions open up, and there's like little holes in there now. So we call
Wow.
it leaky, because now the food, we lose that barrier. So the food is getting through that thin layer of skin and getting into our body. So all this toxin, bacteria, uh, food particles, microbes, whatever that's supposed to stay inside the intestine, now getting into your whole system, and your body's reacting to it.
How do you treat that?
So there's different ways of treating it. It's a little bit harder. It's easier to prevent it than treat it, but there are ways of treating it. The best way is to try to avoid gluten. I'm sure you've heard of gluten-free diet. It's all over the world. It's actually bigger in America because it turns out gluten is a protein that comes from wheat, and it looks like, from what of the research I've done, is that our intestine has a hard time digesting this particular protein from the wheat. So now they're saying it's actually the wheat and the crop that's being grown in US that's creating this issue with a lot
Wow.
of people. So people who are like gluten sensitive or celiac, or they have issues eating bread here, they go to Europe and they're like, oh, I'm completely okay. I can
Wow.
handle the flour there. So for those people, we always recommend, hey, try, a flour that's made, let's say, from Italy. See how you feel. Like try pasta that's from Italy. Maybe you see a difference. So unfortunately, the way the crops are uh, raised here or grown here um, are creating a lot of gluten sensitivity and leaky gut for people who live here.
You say that it's easier to prevent it. So how do you prevent it?
So to prevent it, obviously, you want to eat healthy. You want to stay away from foods like alcohol, um, toxins, environmental toxins, also like chemicals. When you ingest foods that are, have too much sugar or too much seed oils that are inflammatory, that can also cause leaky
Please
gut.
don't say chocolate.
Sure. Yeah. Chocolate. No chocolate. If you can handle having 100% dark chocolate, you're safe. But most of us cannot
Uh-oh.
handle that, right?
Uh-oh.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much, alcohol, stress. A lot of us are under a lot of stress that also can create leaky gut. Um, you just want to eat super healthy. Try to um, meditate, do yoga, take deep breaths before you eat. You pretty much want to be in a relaxed mode when you're eating. You don't want to be in the flight and fight mode when you're digesting
A
food.
lot of people lead in a hurry because they have to go back to work. And we
Right.
live in a rushed society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
By the way, what do you think of these cleanses that you see all over the internet? And drink this juice and cleanse your liver, or
right.
it seems to me like a big nothing. But what do you think?
Yeah. So they are fat. They are gimmicks. Your liver. So that's your liver is another one of your vital organs in our body. Again, liver has over 200 million, not 200 million, or 200 functions in the body. So, for example, your liver is responsible for producing bile, which is very important for breakdown of fat and digestion and absorption of fat in our body. It also helps break down carbohydrates and proteins into smaller blocks so we can digest it. Your liver is responsible for storing glycogen, vitamins, and iron. Also, it's responsible for detoxification. So when you hear detoxification, it's actually your liver has by like a uh, two-phase step, like which we're not going to get into the detail. It helps detoxify and filter out drugs and toxins and alcohol out of the body. So anytime you have medication, alcohol, everything ends up in the liver, and your liver has to filter it out. So obviously, you don't want to overload the liver. You don't want to, have too much fatty food, sugar, too much, especially fructose, which is a fruit sugar, which surprisingly we uh, perceive fruit as a healthy food. Unfortunately, too many fruits and too much fructose can put a burden on your liver as well. So I always tell my patients, limit to your fruits to maybe one fruit a day. You want to make sure your fruits are all organic. Same with vegetables. Uh, we don't want to introduce too much toxin into our diet, because another thing I was going to say for leaky gut, also a lot of these pesticides like glyphosate, that's another cause of having leaky gut. And unfortunately, we're bombarded. We're bombarded with all these environmental toxins everywhere we go, like plastic bottles, plastic cups, styrofoam cups. Like we pour hot coffee in this, paper cups or plastic cups, and we're drinking it, and guess we're ingesting a bunch of chemicals that
Right.
end up in our liver. Your liver has to filter it out, your kidneys have to filter it out, and it's just, and your whole intestine or GI tract gets affected by it. And most of us just go on with our lives and thinking it's okay to do that to our
Right.
body until we see the effects.
You were talking about vitamins. Do they work?
You're talking about the supplements?
Well, I differentiate them. Like I'm talking about like vitamin C, vitamin D, all these multivitamins that you buy at the
Right.
drugstore. Do they work? Is it worth buying those?
So you have to be very, very smart when it comes to choosing the right supplement. Number one, we want to see, is there a deficiency? Do you really need this type of supplement? Most of us do. Unfortunately, most of us are not following healthy diets. We're not consuming enough fruits and vegetables, healthy vegetables. The soils are depleted. Our vegetables are not as rich in vitamins and minerals as they used to be. A lot of them are genetically modified. We don't know what we're eating, honestly.
Right.
So I say, just to be on the safer side, and unfortunately, we don't have any labs or parameters that really show you every single vitamin mineral. Like, are you really low in vitamin A? Are you? I mean, the only way to figure it out is doing some functional testing, which is a little bit expensive. Most people don't want to do it. So I always say, just to be on the safe side, always do a multivitamin. You want it to be food based, and you want it to be from a very reliable company that has like third party testing. Because these supplements are not overseen by FDA or any organization. They're not overseen by any government organization. Like anybody, like you could right now go grab a bottle, throw in a bunch of stuff in there, and write multivitamin helps, with your mood, whatever you want to call it, and put it on a shelf. And as long as you market it well, you can sell. And nobody's going to question you.
Wow.
And it's unfortunate. I really wish there was better regulation, because it is very confusing. Even to me, I go, even to Whole Food Market, like some of these really, really, places that have good reputation, and I see rows and rows in supplements, and I am confused. I don't know what to look for. I don't know which one is good, which one is bad. But I just know from experience. I know some of the companies that I know people have good experience. I'm familiar with their formulation. I know they're third party tested. I always say, try your best to do organic, and definitely do food based supplements. You want it to come from food. You don't want your supplements to be made in some lab, God knows where, with
Good to know.
ingredients that you have no idea.
That's very good to know. I
Yes.
know from experience that the supplements that you recommended for me and the brand that you recommended for me have been working because
Good.
I ran out of them and then it took a while to reorder
Hmm.
and I started feeling sick again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so now that I'm taking them again, I'm starting to feel better again. So,
Yes. Okay.
so
That's good
I
to
do know
know.
that they work, but like you said, you have to do your homework and make sure that they come from a good company and a reliable company.
Hmm.
And thank you for telling us that.
Of
What do you
course.
think of all these fad diets that go on this diet and eat nothing but fruit before noon, or fast for a day and then eat normal, then fast another day? And there's always, it seems to me that every day I see a different diet. They promise that you're going to lose 5 pounds in 2 days. And maybe you do, maybe you don't, but without having the medical expertise, to me, it just sounds like it's something dangerous. And it sounds also like you're just going to gain the weight back very quickly. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. This fad diet, unfortunately, has never worked for anyone. Everyone has tried who has tried it will tell you, like, yeah, you lose 5 pounds in a week and you're so happy. And then, you go on to your doing your daily routines and it's back. Everything comes back even more. And, the problem is that now you've done this fat diets. Let's say you lost 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever. You've lost a bunch of muscle. So what happens now? You gain a bunch of fat back because it's very hard to retain and gain muscle back unless you're a bodybuilder, you're constantly working out. Most people who gain the weight back, they end up gaining it as fat. So we are getting fatter and fatter as we get older because we
Wow.
all do these yo-yo diets. Everybody does it. I do it too. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lose 5 pounds. I lose it. I'm like so happy I lost it. And I'm like, okay, now I gotta enjoy myself and eat my favorite,
Let me reward
whatever.
myself.
And
Yeah.
guess what? It's back. So unfortunately, it doesn't work. That's why I always stress. Number one is it's a lifelong commitment. You want to eat healthy every day. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do this short term. I'm going to fit into my tiny little bra dress and I'm fine. And, now I can eat whatever I want. It doesn't work out that way. Unfortunately, it's a big effort, especially with the lifestyles we all have now. Most of us are working from home. We're in front of a computer all day. We barely move. We're not active. We're bombarded by, delicious food and snacks everywhere you go. And it's becoming harder and harder for people to keep their ideal body weight. And that's why now they're coming out with all these drugs like Ozempics and Manjaro. Like, okay, let's do these shots and jab ourselves to lose weight. They're working, but this is right now the only solution.
What about this intermittent
Intermittent fasting.
fasting?
So that works too. Intermittent fasting, I think it's not the best idea for losing weight. It has other health benefits. So if you do your research, you'll see that people who do intermittent fasting are healthier.
Really?
It's supposed to help you health wise. As Does it help you lose weight? Not sure because a lot of people have a hard time following that kind of diet, and if they do, they end up getting most of their calories, let's say during the window that we tell you, okay, hey, you can eat between 11 to 6 p.m. A lot of people end up overeating throughout that window. They fill up themselves throughout that window. However, for people who are successful, they can do it. I mean, you have to be very, very disciplined. It's like you have to stop eating at 6, 6 p.m., 5 p.m. Most people are like, no, I want to go to dinner. That's when I get home. That's when I want to eat.
Yeah.
And most of us are hungry at night, unfortunately. Um, so we like fill ourselves up before we go to bed. So it's very difficult. It's very challenging, and I see it on daily basis. Like we have like about 6 dietitians in our practice, and between all of us, we see over 100 patients a week. And it seems like everybody has these struggles. We all struggling to lose weight and look fit, and it's very hard. It's very hard, especially for women after we hit age of menopause. The hormonal imbalances, it makes it a lot harder
Yeah.
to keep up the weight.
You know what's not so hard? To save the life of a beautiful pet. Every week, we feature a dog from the East Valley Animal Shelter, which, by the way, is located at 14409 Van Owen Street in Van Nuys, California. This week, pop into the East Valley Animal Shelter and meet Popcorn. Yes, Popcorn, a strikingly handsome 2-year-old male who entered the shelter as a stray. Not only will he mesmerize you, notice his golden colored eyes. Oh, he is gorgeous. But his sweet and gentle demeanor should charm you too. He is a cuddler, takes treats gently, has a kennel made, and appears to get along with dogs. We don't know about cats, but being careful, I've successfully introduced all my dogs to my cats without a problem. If you are not able to adopt, please, please just pop in and share popcorn. Share him on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, and go meet him. You, who knows, you might fall in love with him
Oh,
or with another beautiful, beautiful pet who needs just they give me peace. They help with my anxiety. But let's continue with our guest.
of course.
What are GMOs?
So GMOs are genetically modified organism. What does that mean? That means, I don't know how many years ago they decided they're gonna change, the DNA of certain fruits and vegetables and animals, some animals even, to make him, I guess, look better or more sustainable for whatever reason, taste better. That's why you go. I didn't live here 40 years ago, but I'm assuming the fruits now look very, very different than what they looked 40 years ago, right? Am I right? Like apples, like
Yeah.
they all look perfect,
Yes.
peaches are perfect, beautiful, they last in your fridge for like 2 months. And, they're sweet, they're full of sugar, so obviously
Juicy.
they're making a lot of changes. And,
Isn't that God's job?
right? But no, I mean, in nature, technically, you're supposed to have fruits that, yeah, that have worms in them. When I was little growing up in my country, I know whenever we had fruits, there was worms in them because they were not genetically modified or they were not sprayed with, pesticides. They're natural fruits, and that's how they're supposed to be. But here, obviously, people freak out. They see a little dot on a fruit. It's like, oh no, it's not perfect. I don't want it. Even my kids are like, oh, there's a dot on it. I'm not gonna eat it. I'm like,
I'm guilty of that.
right? I'm
Yeah.
like, that's how fruits and vegetables are supposed to be. They're supposed to be damaged, or they're not supposed to be so perfect. But here we are, this is our society. And that's what GMOs are for you.
I'm guilty of that. I If I saw a worm in a piece of fruit that I was gonna eat, I would not eat it.
No, I
I
know.
would not eat it.
I know I'm part of a group of moms on Facebook, and I know somebody posted they saw like a piece of worm and lettuce, and they're like, "Oh, Trader Joe's is selling lettuce, organic lettuce with a worm in it." I'm like, I mean, that just shows you that's a healthy piece of vegetable.
Yes. Yeah. Going back to my issue, as I mentioned earlier, I was on antibiotics for over 3 months, and I really had no choice.
Hmm.
It was that or
Yes.
probably lose my life with this thing.
Yes.
So sometimes we have no choice but to take the antibiotics. If you have a UTI, you have to take.
Of
How
course.
how do you fix your gut after all this, the attack from the infection and the attack from the antibiotics? Or how do you, while you're taking them, is there a way to minimize the damage that they do to your system?
Yes, definitely, definitely. So there are probiotics that you can take along the side while you're taking antibiotics. Obviously, the antibiotics are just gonna outweigh and outwin the probiotics, but at least it's better than nothing. So always introduce a probiotic, and again, probiotics is another supplement you have to be super super careful. It's another one that you see millions popping from everywhere. So you want it to be from a good source. It's very, very important the way they process probiotics because, they're live bacteria. So they're very sensitive to heat and acid and, different types of environmental um, effects. So you want to make sure they have processed it.
Excuse me.
Of course, that have processed it in a way that has not killed the probiotics. So in other words, you're not eating or taking or spending your money on dead probiotics. So another one that you have to be super careful to get from very reliable sources.
What's the difference between pro and prebiotics?
So probiotics are the beneficial bacteria that actually live inside your gut, right? Those are the ones we like, and you want to have a good balance of probiotics. They're the ones that kind of push down or defeat the bad bacteria, fungus, whatever. You want to have the right balance, and there's millions of different species. Like I can't begin. Like I probably know 5 or 6 on top of my head, but there's a lot of them, and every day they're doing a research and they're finding what each species is responsible for and is good for. So I lost my train. What was your question again?
Prebiotics.
Oh, yes. So prebiotics are actually the food that feed the probiotics. So these probiotics, which is mostly fiber, these probiotics love fiber. That's how they survive and thrive. So that's why we need to introduce a lot of vegetables that are high in fiber, uh, because again, that's their food. That's how they grow and thrive.
What about yogurt?
Same with yogurt. So yogurt, fermented vegetables. So yogurt actually has probiotics because it is fermented. The probiotics are actually in there. So you're eating the probiotics when you have a cup of yogurt. Same with fermented vegetables like sauerkraut or kimchi or kefir. Some people like kefir, or even now they're making fermented coconut. Those are all really good source of probiotics.
I'm pesco vegetarian, so I don't eat chicken or beef. I eat fish.
Hmm.
And so, what's the best source of protein for someone like me?
Yeah, and I know we've discussed this before,
Yes.
and I know a lot of vegetarians are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm not a big proponent of vegetarian diets, and I tell you the reason why. Uh, a lot of the vegetarian diets lack the high quality amino acids or essential amino acids. And that's the protein that your body needs. You're lacking something like glycine. Glutamine is another one that's really, really important for leaky gut. It's kind of like a band-aid that like kind of closes up the holes in your gut lining. And unfortunately, the only way you get it is from meat products.
What about fish?
Okay, fish is a tricky one because that's another one that's very, very hard. It's very hard to find healthy fish nowadays, right? Because you don't want to eat the farm raised fish because they're filled with antibiotics. They throw them in big tanks. They feed them garbage, pretty much, or food coloring. Like you go get this perfect, delicious salmon that's farm raised. Guess what? They fed it, you know, food coloring, and
I
like
always try to look for the one that says wild caught.
Exactly, yes. So the issue with wild caught is now our oceans are polluted, right? We have mercury pollution, whatever is in there. So, obviously becomes hard when you want to get too technical and you want to be completely clean. But we always say at least try to do wild caught fish from Alaska. That's supposed to be the cleanest ocean nowadays. But guess what? Even in Antarctica, they have found plastics there, plastic particles that, these fish are swallowing and eating. And, guess what? It ends up in our system also. So for that reason, just because we don't have really good source of, high protein, high quality protein, I prefer or I recommend patients to try some type of an animal product. If you don't feel comfortable eating meat, chicken, whatever, I would say let's try at least eggs.
Eggs I do eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do eat eggs, and I look for the cage free, and
Exactly.
just for me, not eating meat or chicken is not a matter of health. It's a matter of I love animals and I just
Right.
don't feel comfortable. I was raised not in a farm, but my uncles had cattle ranches for milk. So I grew up around that when we visited them from Mexico City. They didn't live in Mexico City, obviously. But I saw the cows. I got to name them. There were no other kids my age, so I used to play with the animals. So now I feel uncomfortable eating them. But I look for cage-free, cruelty-free eggs, and I found a brand of milk that is also cruelty-free. And I went back to drinking a little bit of milk every
Hmm.
day. So I'm trying to balance it out.
Right.
Yeah. Before we continue, let me invite you to a very, very special event. Neil and I, my husband and I, are going to senior prom. So, my friends, come dance the night away at senior prom in support of Lisa's Care Connection on September 19th at 7 p.m. Senior prom is where we get to bring all generations together, whether you're a student senior or a senior citizen. Senior prom is your night. Enjoy delicious hors d'oeuvres, drinks, music, and dancing. Tickets start at just $75 per person. And if you can't make it, don't worry. You can make a tax-deductible donation and send a senior citizen to prom. For more information, call 818-847-3686, 818-847-3686, or visit lisascareconnection.org. And speaking of websites, my dear friend, why don't you give us your website, please? Do it slowly so people get pen and pencil ready. This is important. Write this down because you need to get a hold of this lady. She knows what she's talking about. She's very good. I hadn't met her before today. We spoke via Zoom mostly, but she helped me so much that I convinced her. She didn't want to do it, but I convinced her to come to the show to share with us her knowledge. So please give your website and phone number where people can find you.
Thank you very much. So, the website is www.theraholistic nutrition. So Thera like therapies, Thera, listic like holistic, LISTIC, nutrition. It's all one word, obviously. Theraholisticnutrition.com. The phone number, unfortunately, I don't have it memorized. Give me a second. Um,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
no, that's okay. I appreciate it. So the number is 818-403-5688. 818-403-5688. Feel free to reach out anytime. We do accept insurance. Most insurances do cover medical nutrition therapy. That's what we do. And everything is done right now through telehealth. So we do video or phone calls at the moment.
Do you accept private patients or does it have to be through insurance?
No, we accept all kinds of patients.
Good. Please repeat your website again because
I know
so people can
it's a
really
hard
write
one.
it down.
Right. It's www.theraholistic, so THERALISTIC nutrition.com.
Another way that I would say that is the realistic nutrition.com.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spells the same way.
Thera, yeah.
The realistic nutrition.com.
I know we were trying to think of a name that combines therapy and holistic. So one of my friends actually came out with that name, and I liked it. It was
It's a very
different.
good one.
Yes.
It's a very good one. And my pointer about dealing with anxiety for today, you know, that I'd like to share my tools, things that have worked for me. This is one of them. Educate yourself. Educate yourself about your health and what you can do to maintain it. And when you know what's happening inside your body and you know that you're not dying, you're not having a heart attack, it's easier to control. And also keep in mind that your anxiety is affecting your gut and your gut is affecting your anxiety. So do your best to not let that happen. What is we've covered a lot of information, important information. So give us your best advice for living a healthy life and for making it easier for us to eat properly and eat the right foods. Not just what we have to enjoy what we eat. I
Mhm.
allow myself a piece of chocolate
Of
every day
course.
because I'm a chocoholic.
Mhm.
And but I don't do what I used to do. I don't sit and eat the whole 2-pound box of See's candy. I actually did that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So one piece of chocolate I allow myself. I try to enjoy what I eat. So what is your best advice for our listeners, the people who are watching the show?
Of course. So, obviously, every person is different. That's why we do individual counseling because what works for you may not work for another person. Like we're all different. We're all different. A lot of people with cravings or overeating. Unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with your emotions, your genetics. It's not as easy as we like it to be. Obviously, I can sit here and say, oh, eat healthy and exercise. Obviously, we all know that. But how many people can do it? Very limited number of people can tackle that. I say do your best, like you said, see what works for you. If you used to eat a box of candy, just tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to limit it to one piece of chocolate and I'm going to be happy with it. See what you can do. It's about making progress, like taking little steps until you get where you want to be. I say to my patients, if you do 10% better every week, that's good enough. We don't want you to make a 360-degree and all of a sudden be like a, buff bodybuilder overnight.
Right.
It's not going to happen. People have lives, stress. People have a hard time exercising, making time to exercise. Uh, like I said, we're bombarded with like food, like, people who work in offices are like, I can't help it because somebody's always bringing donuts, somebody's always bringing chocolate. What are you going to do?
Somebody's birthday and you have to
Right,
have a piece of
exactly.
birthday cake because it's good luck.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, it's the culture. Everybody celebrates with sweets and candy, and every holiday, every party, everything involves sweets and dessert, and you know, uh, I used to tell my kids, teachers, don't give this to my kids. But guess what? I was the bad guy. Everybody
Yes.
hated me. Like, oh, you brought this up. Like, why did you say no snacks after soccer games? All the kids hated me, like because I was like, oh, they just came here, played volleyball, soccer, whatever, and all the parents are cheering up by like bringing donuts and chips and cookies. I'm like, this is not right. They just came here and exercise. Why are you filling up their body with this junk? So, as long as everybody realizes what the issue is in our society and understand that a little bit every day, work at it.
What about for grown-ups? I hear that red wine is good for your heart. What about that? What do you think about that?
See, that's another one. Like, they've been contradicting, you know, studies on it because now we know alcohol is not good for your liver, for your gut. Uh, Depends on what kind of wine you're having. I'm not very good with alcoholic beverages, but as far as I I'm concerned, most alcoholic beverages, I don't see any positive effects with it. I know in Europe they've done studies, but nobody knows, is it their lifestyles that's keeping them healthier? Is it their food? Or is it the fact that they drink wine every night with their food? Nobody knows. So I
Right.
honestly don't know what to tell you on
And
that.
basically, if you want to think about it, you could do the same thing with grape juice with
Right.
no alcohol. But then we go into the sugar and all of that all those other pretty little things that they put in it.
Exactly. I mean, it does. Wine and red grapes do have antioxidants, resveratrol. That's supposed to have a lot of health benefits. But then, do you get health benefits? But then, all this other, you know,
Junk. I'll say it for you.
alcohol
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know, honestly. And and then and then another issue is like, how much is enough? Like, is it half a glass? But most people are like, oh, I can't have half a glass. I gotta have a full glass, or I gotta have a bottle. Some people have to have 2 bottles. Like, like
Right.
where do you stop?
Right. Well, this is so fascinating, good information. We're coming to the end of the show. Ronit, I know that you didn't really want to do this, but I'm so glad I twisted your arm.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me, because you really have. So I want to thank you. And people, if you need a good nutritionist, now you know where to find one. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to always, always be grateful. Until next week, I am Edie J. Adler.
You're listening to The Edie J. Adler Show, only on LA Talk Radio.